Success is discovering yourself, knowing your purpose in life, growing to fulfill your purpose in life, and serving your purpose with the world, serving your purpose in life. And see, when you do that, in order to do that, you have to understand the importance of I am. Listen to me. Of all that I can see, I can be, because I am is the creator of me. And I am that I am, the creator, has sent me to join in on the management of this creation and to aid in making this my best life. And my best life it shall be. And so, see, Cedric, the reason I call myself the people's coach is because I was put here for a purpose. God sent me here on a mission.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am, and it is. Break down that clause of comments that you just gave us at this opening segment. It wasn't simple. It was not abstract. It meant a lot. Break that down for us. What does it mean when you say I am? What does it mean when you say that you are a co-creator? What does it mean?
Here's what it means. What it means, and I'm gonna slow this down because I want everyone to understand this. All right, if you're listening right now, I want you to understand this. When I say that I am is the creator of me, you know, a lot of people usually think that I'm talking to occult type stuff. They think we're talking Illuminati. But what I'm telling you is those words are magical. And when you make up a decision, and I know, Cedric, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I know at some point in time you're going to ask me, you're going to say, Ernie, what do you think success is? And so I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to tell you right off the bat. Success is discovering yourself, knowing your purpose in life, growing to fulfill your purpose in life, and serving your purpose with the world. Serving your purpose in life. And see, when you do that, in order to do that, you have to understand the importance of I am. There's a whole lot of people in the world. They're going to colleges, they're going to universities, they're going to their parents, they're going to their mentors, and they're asking everybody else to tell them who they are. Who am I? They're asking, who am I? Who can I be? What should I do? And what I want you to, if you don't remember anything else today, what I want you to remember is that you are the creator of you. Your creator gave you a device. He gave that device to you. And you know, I think it's so amazing.
Whoa. Hold on.
Go ahead.
This is gonna be one of those shows where I'm gonna have to interject so many times because you're striking chords.
Interject. We will have some fun.
As if we the audience is a piano. That's how you're striking chords today. And so I'm going to have to interject to make sure that we are all going along on this elevator with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who told you that you were a co-creator in the universe? Who told you that? Where'd you get that from?
Who told me that? You know
That's
what?
Right.
I wish I had one of them good books beside me. I don't have the good book with me today. You know, they call that thing, they call it the Bible. Some people carry one, some people read them, some people don't, right? But in Genesis, there's this guy in the Bible named Moses. If I remember the story correctly. I'm not a Bible scholar or anything like that, but in the book of Genesis, there's this guy named Moses, right? And he goes out, and there's a story about where he goes to this burning bush out in the deserts of Africa, all right? In the deserts of Africa, North Africa, wherever you want to put it. There's a whole lot of debate about that. But he goes out to the bush, and he hears the voice of God. You know, I'm taking a little bit out of the story, but ultimately he hears the voice of God, and he asks God, he says, who are they? Who are they? Right? And the voice of God says that I am. I am. And God was telling him to go to his people and share the message with the people, right? So he's telling Moses to go to the people. And Moses was like, well, who should I say sent me? And in the book, in that scripture, I remember it. I can't remember the number right now, but it says that, tell them that I am has sent me. And so now we're going to take this a little deeper, right? Because we're going to break the words down. When you say the words I am, there's some other books and some other literature out there that teaches us that those words are the master creator. And I think it's going to be extremely true. You see, when you have the courage to understand who you are and you stand up on your own 2 feet and you tell the world, I am the people's coach, the loyal servant of the master creator. You see, I can do that, right? But when you have the courage to say, I am Cedric Riley, I am the host of America's Next Motivator. You see, I am has the power of creating you as long as you're not afraid to follow that up. You see, you don't have to ask anybody authority because your creator has already given you that ability to say who you are. The only thing you have to do is discover yourself and figure out what you want to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to Ernie Davis today. I'd like for you to tag someone, text someone, get someone else into this conversation. You might look at me as the host of this show from time to time and think, he's a young man. He's still learning a lot. He's not particularly going to provide value for me. Well, today I went and got a champion from a different generation. And so if you've not been getting it from me, I can tell from the conversation that we're having already that you can get something from this gentleman here. Go get somebody else and bring him into the building and have them drop a question or a comment. Somebody else can benefit from this conversation. They can benefit from this exchange here. I'd like for you to assist in getting them in the building. Now, Ernie, where are you from?
So I grew up down in Richmond, Virginia. Now I think you're up in New York, right? And some of your listeners, I heard you got listeners all the way around the world from what I heard. But I grew up down in Richmond, Virginia, not too many hours south of Washington, D.C., probably about 2.5 hours south of Washington, D.C. I grew up. And if anybody here is from Richmond, hey, go ahead and put some information there in the comment sections. Let us know that you're in the house, right? And if anybody's from Richmond, I'm going to tell you like this. I grew up on 29th Street in Church Hill. Creighton Court housing projects. That's where my life. That's kind of where my life started at, But on the east end of Richmond, which from Creighton Court housing project over to the Fairfield Court housing project to Newborn Street to 29th Street and over to Central Gardens housing community. But so I started out in Richmond. That's where I come from. I think they say that Richmond used to be the home of the Confederates long time ago, right? The home of the Confederates. And so some of the stuff that I share with you today, we may even go all the way back there. And I may even share something with you, Cedric, that comes from an old guy by the name of Patrick Henry, long time ago. And he said, give me life or give me death. He said, give me liberty or give me death. He said that in the neighborhood where I grew up at. And so a whole lot of the stuff that I do, everything that I do is all about helping to give you liberty, to help you find and create, discover who you are and create the life that you desire on your own terms.
Everybody in America, for the most part, they dealt with some adversities. They dealt with the reality of drug infestation and high crime rates in the 80s and the 90s. How did you manage to get through those decades?
How did I manage? That's a great question. Let me share some before I can tell you how I managed. I think I should share a little bit about where I'm actually from. Sometimes I say lightly the housing projects, but just to capture you up. Come from the Creighton Court housing projects. My uncle was a kingpin. My grandmother was the first entrepreneur I knew. She ran the liquor house and the gambling spot where people would come to play numbers, bet on the numbers. That was a long time ago before they had the lottery, right? But people would come there they would come there to get drinks, bet on numbers. Do things that people do, in the housing community. My dad was a psychopath, right?
Wow.
He was a murderer. Wow. I had the luxury at the age of 10, and I shouldn't say it was a luxury, but I know there's somebody who's listening has probably been through just as bad, but I got the opportunity to serve as the first responder at the age of 9.5, almost 10 years old, to the brutal stabbing and attempted murder of my own mom. Right? Me and my little brother playing out in the backyard one day. And we hear a little bam, bam on the window, which is about 20 feet away from us. And slowly we look at each other and we slowly get up because it's early in the morning. We wasn't supposed to be outside. We left the front door open. And we walk up to the back door of the house. And boom! Screen door comes open, hits the rail, outruns my mother. She's covered in blood. Looked like she had been stabbed over 33 times.
Wow.
Me and my brother, we pause a little bit. And right behind her, there's a man with a butcher knife. He comes out of the house. He looks me and my brother in the eyes. And he disappears.
Wow.
Before he disappeared, he told me don't call the cops. That's just a quick, 2-3 minute summary of where I come from. And you want to know how I was escaped. I see you want to ask questions, so go ahead.
Well, this is the substance that is locked up in our elders, waiting to be communicated to the rest of the world. This is the reason why we have this show here, because wrapped up in you, the people's coach, someone who I'm sure could talk about 6-figure salaries, 10xing your productivity, growth, project management, has a story under there that qualifies you, makes you an authority on life in the first place. And that's what we like to do here, is talk about life in the first place. And I am impressed that not only were you a firsthand witnesser of the things that went on in the 80s and the 90s, you were a part of what was happening in the 80s and 90s, and you were on the other side of it as an extremely positive and productive member of society. So I find a lot in that. You don't look like what you've been through, but we're definitely going to unpack some more of those experiences. Hey, now, what was your life like after that happened to your mother? Talk to us.
Life was crazy, but let me share something else. Let me go back for a second, because somebody, you asked a question and I didn't really answer that question. You asked me, how did I make it out?
Yep.
Growing up as a little kid, I'd say from the earliest time I can remember, probably like 6 or 7 years old, I would be in the liquor house, my grandmother's liquor house, and it was a 2-story. It was a flat, a low-rise project house, and I would be in there. So smoke would be so thick that you'd have to wave the smoke like this, and you could almost cut it with some cutting shears.
Right.
But I would be in there, eyes burning, and I would be up on the top. And growing up in the liquor house, one of the things that you realize is that in our community, some people are successful. And in our community, some people are extremely unsuccessful. And as a little kid, there were 2 questions that I always asked myself as a little kid, 6 or 7 years old, probably even younger than that. I just can't remember back that far. But I would always look out the window of the project house at the people, drunks, the drug addicts, people who have OD'd and they're laying in the dirt out there. And I would always ask God, I would say, God, why are some people so much more successful than others? And then I used to contemplate upon that. And I used to also contemplate upon, how does God control us? How does God, why do we have to live like this? Why do some of us live like this and some don't? You see, one of the good things about it is not everybody in the liquor house was bad. And so some of those people in the liquor house, even as a little kid, they would ask, they would say, hey, let me see your report card. How's your report card today, right? And I would come up, they give you like a quarter. Back then, we take a quarter and you go like, we used to call it like an iceberg, one of those little, some people call them frozen cups, ice cones. We do stuff like that. And they constantly uplifted you. It's the everyday, the regular people who constantly uplifted you. And then I was blessed to have a grandmother who would often tell me that you can be, do, and achieve anything that you put your mind to. You see, this is how we're living. This is how we're making it, because they all had their own stories, right? My grandmother grew up down in North Carolina. Her dad was a sharecropper. Okay. It's a sharecropper. She escaped home at 30, right?
You know what? I like what you're saying right now, because we live in almost a paradoxical world where you might have drinking, drugging, illegal activity going on in a community, but in that very same community, guess what? People are also loving each other. They're passing along wisdom. Some of them are standing for something. Mixed in are some people with high integrity. There are people who've amassed wealth. There are people who understand the world. There are people who've been around the world, all at the same time. And so the reality that some of us have been through such adversity, it doesn't mean that there was an absence of wisdom, and it doesn't mean that there was an absence of fraternal exchange, if you will.
No, not even. There's a whole lot of fraternal exchange. I still remember one of the guys who would give me a quarter every time, Mr. Woodrow. Mr. Woodrow had such a profound effect on my life, right? Mr. Woodrow was a gangster. When I was in the 2nd grade, he disappeared. Never saw him again. But the things that he taught me from before the first kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, just by inspiring me, are the same things that I taught to my own kids, my own daughter. Wow. Right? I helped those same principles that he used to motivate me. I use those same principles to motivate my daughter, to help her graduate high school with a 4.625 GPA, right? Same exact principles I got from a guy in the housing project are the same principles I use with my own son when I'm raising my own son, right? To help him create his vision and get 17 offers to play Division I college football. Wow. Right? And so when you say that there is good in there, but the good, it also starts with us. We have to be willing to have a dream. We have to be willing to have a dream even from a young age, and that is extremely difficult because at a young age, especially for kids, there's a whole lot of adults in our lives. Their dreams have been crushed. All they know is what they know. And even some of the best ones, even the school teachers and role models, all they know is what they know. And so one of the most valuable things that anybody did in my life was help me to see something else. You see, a part of that mantra you asked me about, I said, of all that I can see, I can be, right? Of all that I can see, I can be. My grandmother raised 6 kids in the housing projects. For the most part, most of her older kids, none of them ever came back to the housing projects. One of the things that my grandmother did with me, I told you, she gave me the belief that you can be, do, and achieve anything that you want to do in life.
That's
We
right.
would jump on the city bus. We would jump on the city bus and take a 30-minute ride from the housing project to the downtown shopping area. And on the way to the downtown shopping area, sometimes we could stay on the bus and they go through all these monuments. You know, nowadays they want to rip these monuments down. I told you I came from Richmond, Virginia. It was the home of the Confederacy. So a lot of the monuments are Confederate heroes or Confederate people of some significance. But I would look at those monuments and I would look at the beautiful houses in the neighborhoods where those monuments stood. And I would listen to the words of my grandmother telling me that you can be, do, and achieve anything that you put your mind to. And I would look out the windows of the bus and see people living a whole life differently. It was the first time I ever seen a person pushing a stroller with a baby in it, and they were running. Not just walking, but they were running. You know those strollers they sell with like 3 wheels, and you push one of those things and you run behind it? I never seen anything like that in the housing project. Because in the projects, people don't run. If you run in the projects, it's because somebody's chasing you or the cops are chasing you.
So your grandmother would actually take you to different parts of the city for you to literally see that different people live different ways.
Well, I don't think that wasn't her intent. Her intent was to go shopping downtown. Right. I got lucky enough to be on the bus with her, and being on the bus with all the big windows, you get to see all of these different parts of life. You get to see different people, right? You get to see something that's not what you see every day inside of the housing project. It was almost like an unintentional field trip. I used to love taking the bus trips to downtown. We used to go downtown to a place they call it Broad Street, and I can't think of the equivalent out there where you're at. But Broad Street is where you had all the shopping at back in the days. This is where all the buses and trains go down to. Right. You know, they used to have shopping for miles and miles and miles. My grandmother used to go there. I was lucky because on the way to get there, the bus had to ride through all this other good stuff.
Right. And so you were paying attention.
Always. I love to sightsee. I love to see what's in the world.
It sounds like you were a visionary when you were young. Do you consider vision to be a gift, or do you feel like it's something that everyone has and maybe they abandoned it at some point along the way?
That's an awesome question. That is an awesome question because both of those answers are correct, right? Vision is a gift, but everyone has a vision. You see, if you think about something right now in the back of your mind, if I ask you to think about your house, right? If I say think about your house, the first thing that you're going to see in the back of your mind somewhere, you're not going to see the word house. You're probably going to start creating a vision of the house. Now, if I ask you to think about the front door to your house, you're probably going to get a vision in your mind of the front door of your house. It'll be different from mine's, but it'll be yours. And so we all have a vision. The problem is, and this is one that I ran into when I was just a young kid, right? The problem is vision requires us to use the imagination. Mm-hmm. You see, the imagination is a tool, is a faculty that God gave us in order for us to create our own movies, our own shows, anything that we want to see, we can create it in our imagination. And if you think back to when you were in elementary school, young elementary school, just 6, 7, 8, when you start, one of the first things the teachers and the school officials, they tell you is stop daydreaming. Stop being so imaginative. If you imagine too much and you draw too many pictures in class, which I did all the time, they call your parents and they says, hey, he's not listening to the lesson. He's not listening to the ABCs. He's drawing pictures. He's creating visions. And see, what we get out of that is that, hey, you need to stop being imaginative, stop imagining, stop daydreaming, stop that visioning. And that's one of the first detrimental things that we do as we come from our youth, our very young, preschool age to our school age. We get in a classroom and they say, stop daydreaming, stop creating that vision. We all have the faculty. We all have the ability to daydream. We all have the ability to create visions in our mind.
Wow.
We can create and see anything that we want. And see, the creator also gave us the ability to be able to actually create in the real world, anything that we can see in our mind. You see, Cedric, go ahead.
Let's make this a victorious moment for all of our people watching this today. The people who've wondered, how can I change my life? The people who've wondered, where is my vision? The people who wondered, how do I become one of those victorious people like the ones I'm seeing on social media or on television today? let's provide some dot connecting today for our general public. And so let's say I am an apparatus. I'm a human being, but I have the power to, like you said, anything that I can see, I can achieve, or anything that I can envision, I can manifest. Is pretty much the same phrase. Let's do an exercise. Everybody, imagine what you want your life to be.
That's powerful.
Is it the case that once you imagine what you want your life to be, if you do it enough, then you can begin to dream about that? Is that the way it works?
You know what? I wish it was that easy. It is easy. And I love this. And this is something that we do in my men's coaching program. You know, we call it the Think and Grow Rich program. But the answer is that's where the process starts at.
Okay.
Here's the problem, Cedric. And for those of you listening, you probably already know this. If you talk to anybody long enough, if you ask them what they want, and one of my favorite books, right? Matter of fact, this one right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. Awesome book. It's difficult to read, right? But there's another one by Napoleon Hill. And what Napoleon Hill did is some time ago, he researched 25,000 people. 25,000 people. He individually surveyed them. And what Napoleon Hill discovered, this is in the 1930s. What he discovered is that most people don't know what they want.
Okay.
I was just having a conversation with a couple of gentlemen last night, and they're in their 20s, and everybody wants to be rich. They want to be wealthy. Everybody wants to be famous. But when you really boil it down, when you really drill down in on it, that's not what they really want. That's what somebody else told them that they want. That's what something they saw on TV told them that they want. You know, so there's people saying, okay, I want to create my life. They say, I want a 3-car garage, a beautiful home, a wife and kids. But when we really dig into it, it's not what they really want. So the problem is most people don't know what they want. And most people will say that they want something. So they'll start creating a vision. And nowadays, you know, vision boards and stuff like that are extremely popular. And so people get out their big piece of cardboard and they start taping cars and pretty houses, and they say, oh, this is what I want. This is what I want. You know, and they start going after it for materialistic reasons. Most people never achieve any success on that. Most people never achieve success, and they start saying this vision board stuff, it doesn't work. These visions, it don't work. What the real problem is, Cedric? Would you like to know what the real problem is?
Go ahead.
The thing that they said they wanted is not really what they wanted. You know, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to work with somebody who's experienced and somebody who understands this process. You know, I understand the process, but sometimes you have to work with someone who understands the process and who can really help you hone in on what it is that you want.
How do you hone in on exactly what it is that you want? For instance,
sometimes I got you. I'm trying to think of a simple question, a simple answer. Because sometimes it just requires us to ask the right questions. Sometimes it takes somebody who's knowledgeable to ask the right questions. And sometimes we can figure it out on our own. But sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for us to figure it out on our own. Sometimes we can figure out what we really want. You know, there's a whole lot of quotes all over the internet and everything. They say, if you really want to know what a person wants, look at how they live their life.
Wow.
Look at how they live their life, and they'll tell you what they really want. But some people are so confused, they don't know what they want. They're just living their life blowing with the wind, right? But it just requires to ask the right questions. What do you really want? What are you willing to die for? You know, I love it. Go ahead.
How do you feel that people can obtain happiness?
Happiness is an inside job. Here's how you attain happiness. Number 1, discover who you are. Discover the reason that you were born.
How can they do that? How can you discover the reason why you were born?
Ooh, you know what, Cedric, you got all the questions. What I should just put my number on the page and say, listen, all of these are one-on-one conversations. You want to figure out why you're born? There's a whole lot of different ways to help us discover who you are. I use a number of different tools. Okay. You know, I use a number of different tools to help a person discover who they are. One of the tools I use is called a Myers-Briggs personality inventory.
Okay.
Some people call it MBTI. We do that to try and figure out, okay, what is this person interested in? You know, another thing we look at is, and I'm gonna tell you, if you're listening right now, I want you to understand this. Nothing happens by mistake. You were born on the day that you were born for a reason. You were born. What day were you born, Cedric?
August 23rd, 1988.
So August 23rd, 1988. So you were born on August 23rd of 1988 for a reason.
That's right.
I can look at the day that you were born, the time that you were born, and I can figure out what your basic life purpose is, your basic life path, what kind of strengths that you came in. Then I can ask you a question like, what was your name at birth? What was your given name at birth put on the paperwork when they brought you home from the doctor or however it went for you, right? Somebody gave you an original name. I can look at the energy of that. You see, your birth date, it has an energy. It has a vibration.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
It all has a vibration. So that gives us a clue as to what your purpose are. It gives us an idea. If you would have never went to school, and all I knew about you was the day that you were born, the name that you were given at birth, I can already start to gain an idea as to why you were born and what your purpose are. Not your purpose, because here's what happens. Your creator sent you here on a mission.
That's right.
We could call it a life path or whatever you want to call it. He gave you a role, a purpose to get from point A to point B. Your creator did that for you. Your creator, I don't know who named you. A lot of people don't know who named them. Some people have all kinds of crazy stories behind their names. But your name, not even your original name, was not a mistake. The original one they put on the birth certificate was not a mistake. We can look at that and figure out, it tells us a little bit about your personality, who other people are going to see you to be in life. Like when I look at you, Cedric, I know that by looking at your name, your original name, and I know your original name, one of the things I know is that you were called to be a leader. You're called to be an individual person, someone who's going to be a stand-up type of person, right? And I know that you have an expression, you have a desire to educate, uplift, and inspire people. And I knew that before. I would know that even before I knew anything about your show, right? And so we do that. We look at your Myers-Briggs type information to try and figure it out, a little scientific. A lot of people like that because it's proven, right? A few million people have taken the Myers-Briggs type personality test, right? Then we look at the numbers and everything associated with your name, right? And your day you were born. We look at all of that, and then we do one-on-one questioning. And you see, I go back to the opening statement where I said, "I am is the creator of me." So your creator put you on this planet. He put you on this planet, gave you the form that you are currently sitting in, right? He made you a human being. He gave you certain gifts, talents, and abilities from birth. And then he gave you this thing we call free will. Free will is your ability to choose how you will, what your purpose will be in life, how you will serve your purpose in life, utilizing the natural gifts, talents, and abilities that you came into this earth with. You see, I think the educational system messes that up sometimes because we go to the educational system and they look at us all like little mini robots and they start pouring in alphabets, they start pouring in math formulas, and it's almost like, they assume that we came here just to be slaves, to serve a purpose in the workforce. And so they educate us all up, teach us how to, swing a hammer and do little things on the cog line and the assembly line so that we can be effective and prosperous citizens. But they forget that each and every one of us came here on a personal, individual journey, which requires us to become the best version of ourselves that we're capable of being so that we can enjoy the best life that we're capable of living in the service of our creator. And the creator gave you free will, so you get to decide what it is you will or what it is you will not do to serve your purpose and to help make this your best life. This can be any type of life that you desire.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ernie Davis is a wealth of information today. His journey was robust and he's being transparent and providing a lot of valuable information today. I'd like for you to be here after the break, so sit tight. We'll be right back. And we're back. Ernie, how you feeling out there?
Hey, I'm feeling awesome. I love those commercials. I love those graphics. You guys are doing it here, right?
Yes,
good
sir.
Stuff. Good stuff.
Yes, sir. Now, right back into this train of thought that we were on. It seems like there is value in the very words that comes out of our mouths. And in that, there is value in the very alphabet that we use in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Are we living in a world where people literally don't know their ABCs? Because if all you have is your name and you say, okay, well, my name is Cedric. If you don't know any other way to treat me like a C. and then treat me like an E, and then treat me like a D, and then an R, and then an I, and then a C, right? Let's just say that means something. In fact, let's just say that means everything. How do we characterize the very alphabet, that the tongue rather, that we walk around using today?
Cedric, you asked some interesting questions, man. I like that you spelled that name out. You said Cedric. And if I was a thinking man, right? If I was a thinking man, if I was like a old wise guy, like the guy who taught me this, I would tell you that Cedric carries with it the rhythm and the vibration of a 33. If I had to put it in number forms, it would carry with it the vibration of a 33. You know, a lot of 33 is quite a magical number. Some people are aware of that. Some people aren't, right? But it's true. Words have power.
That's right.
Words can either create or destroy. And so a lot of the words that we use, especially in our culture, right? Especially in our culture, Cedric, I don't know exactly where you grew up and how you grew up, but I'm looking at us and we look very much similar, right? We could be family. And
well, let me say this. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I also grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I spent years of my life in foster care before my life was changed by adoption at the age of 15.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am today. Go ahead.
Awesome. So we grew up in the same type of environment. I didn't grow up in an adoption agency. You know, the closest I got to an adoption agency is after my mother was killed, or not killed, but after her attempted murder. We went to court with her murderer. And so the judge wanted me to decide who I wanted to live with. The person that tried to kill her, stabbed her almost 33 times, or my mom, who miraculously survived. I don't know how she survived. Well, I know, but that was the closest I ever came to foster care or having to live somewhere else. Luckily while my mom was in the hospital, my aunts and uncles, they took care of us, and my grandmother. But to get back to what you were saying, words have power.
That's right.
Words have power. They will either build us up and make us who we were born to be, or they will tear us down. And unfortunately, a lot of the words we use in our culture, in our music, they're destructive. They're negative.
Absolutely.
They carry us to a lower vibration. Mm-hmm. You see, and everything is energy, and energy vibrates, right? Yeah. We're all like your soul. You have an energy inside of you. Mm-hmm. When you go somewhere and you talk to someone, you can probably feel their energy, right? And their energy kind of lets you know what their mood is like. If it's a person who's like in a bad mood, you can usually feel that, right? You can feel that energy because their body is vibrating and giving out an energy which is negative, which says, hey, don't mess with me today. Stay back. Keep your distance. Watch what you say today. You can feel that. And so the same way that you can feel that energy coming from a person is the same way that words and rhythms produce an energy. And those words and the rhythm that they come in, they either take us up or they take us down. And the longer let me share this one part, because the longer you stay in an energy that's up, the higher you can go. The longer you stay in an energy that's down, the longer you will stay down and start feeling sick, depressed, and feel as if your life not changing. So we have to be very cognizant of the words we use, the way we spell them. Sometimes I like to say it's almost, in the witches a long time ago, when they had like witches and wizards and all that kind of stuff, they used to have this big thing about creating spells. They used to use the word spell. And if you ever watch one of those old cartoon shows, I used to watch this cartoon show growing up. It was called the Smurfs. And on the Smurfs cartoon show, little blue people, right, running around with these little white hats on, and they would always have this magician, this guy by the name of Gargamel. Gargamel was like a mad scientist magician, and he would always throw some things into a potion. But you know what he did every time? Whenever he would make the spell, he would always recite certain words.
Okay.
I am willing to say that the magic came not from what was in the pot. The magic came from the words that were coming out of his mouth.
Absolutely. What we are exposing today is that your name is a statement. Mm-hmm. We have the reality out here that some people find a way to manifest into the best versions of themselves, but many people are lost when it comes to figuring that out. Yeah, and what we are crystallizing today for people is that your name holds power of your being. And so you have to discover the statement that is your name. You've got to look at your life and say, how would my vision change if I was the statement that is my name? Would my vision become activated? if I was treating myself the way that I should be treated based on what my name is. Mm-hmm. And if your name is something that is not easy for other people to understand, then you go in and you define what your name is. You have to design your world is the point today. Mm-hmm. So what if you can't look out there and find the meaning of the name Dion or the name Cedric or the, any other name that somebody might have made up? You have an opportunity to discover the value of your name, the statement of your name, because once you really understand who you are, then you can activate your vision. And so we want to make it plain today that we're trying to get each and every one of our people to figure out how to activate their vision. If you can activate your vision, then our world becomes a new place. It becomes a new place. Mm-hmm. Now, what did you decide to do after high school, Ernie?
You know what I decided to do? And actually, I decided it before I even went to high school. You know, growing up, I can tell you as early as sixth grade, I knew that I wasn't going to college. Mm-hmm. I knew I wasn't going to college. I started my first business when I was 7. My first business when I was 7 years old. And what I was doing, I was selling toys. I would acquire toys. Me and my best friend would acquire toys, and we would sell them. We'd trade them, play with them for a little bit. That was my first business. My second business, I started that at 12 and a half, neighborhood barber. And so I knew from an early age that I didn't need the education. I didn't need to go to school. That's what I thought. I didn't need what they were teaching in the building. And so I knew I wasn't going to go to college. But as life is, right? You know, you fall in senior year, 11th, 12th grade, I fall in love with a young lady. And she was telling me, she was like, well, I can't be with a guy who's not going to do anything with his life. Now, I always knew that I was going to do something with my life. Right. College just wasn't a part of it. It wasn't a plan. I loved playing football and sports in high school. I hated going to practice, but I loved playing. College wasn't in the plans. And so what I did is I figured I had to escape. Because of the environment I grew up in, I knew I had to escape. That young lady, she knew me. And she knew that I had to escape. And I think the spirit, the universe, kind of put that voice in her to say, hey, tell this guy what he needs to hear so that he can get out of here. And my entire life growing up in Richmond, I always wanted to leave. Okay. I always wanted to leave. I wanted to escape. I wanted to get away from that place and never come back again, right? And I always envisioned myself living in Washington, D.C. I said, I'm going to live in Washington, D.C. from a young age. And so what I did is I found an escape route. Well, the universe sent one before me, right? And I ended up joining the United States Navy. Joined the United States Navy as what they call in the Navy, they call them a CB, a construction engineer. I was a builder. But even before then, I was a mason's apprentice in high school. That was one of my other gigs. I went to a vocational center, and so I was a mason, you know, the ones that lay bricks and build structures and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Met a Navy recruiter. The Navy recruiter convinced me. I don't know how he did it, but the Navy recruiter, he convinced me to join the United States Navy. And you know what he did? He did something that was amazing. It's all the universe, right? It's all the universe, because he came to me. I knew that I wasn't going to go and fight wars and die for my country. That just wasn't in the plan. Even though we were pretty rough on the block and in the neighborhood, right. He came to me and said, listen, you could join the Navy. I knew I wasn't going to the Army. I knew I wasn't going to the Marine Corps and none of those other things where they fight and shoot guns and all that nonsense, right? And I knew I wasn't going to the Navy because I couldn't swim. And I knew I wasn't going to the Air Force because at the time I thought if you went to the Air Force, you end up in the middle of the ocean on some aircraft carrier, right? I've learned a lot since then. But he told me, he's like, listen, you can join the Navy. We're going to pay to send you to school so you can learn all this construction stuff and construction management, everything that you need to know to start your own business. See, we had been talking. He already knew I was a business person. My goal was to start my own business. I was going to buy the barbershop when I was in my 12th grade year. I was saving up money to buy the barbershop. And so when he started talking about they're going to teach you how to run a business, manage a business, do all this, he had me. Then he said, listen, you never have to go to sea. You don't have to be on a boat because we're going to put you in construction work and you can't do construction work on a boat. And so you'll never be in a boat. And then he said, well, this is the Navy. It's the Navy. And so it's not the Marine Corps or the Army. So you don't have to worry about going to war and fighting in combat. Hey, out of everything he said, he got it almost right? He wasn't a construction guy. He didn't know anything about fighting in combat. So he messed up on that part. But I joined the Navy. 15 military deployments, 6 combat tours later. I've worked with the Taliban. I've worked with guys from Al Qaeda. You know, I've worked with senior government officials in several different countries. I've been over 20 different countries, right? And people always ask me, they say, Ernie, you did 6 combat tours? You mean you were inside the camp in the safe area, right? I was like, no, I did 6 combat tours out in the streets of Afghanistan and Iraq, walking up and down the streets, sometimes in
Wow.
civilian clothes and regular clothes with beard, right? That's how I lived, speaking the foreign language. I spoke Farsi, which is I spoke Farsi, Dari, which they speak in Afghanistan. I spoke Arabic, which they speak in Iraq. I spoke those languages, right, and dealt with the people. You know, often
You
I'd
learned
be.
4 different languages
They're
or
all
three
very
different
similar.
languages?
They're
Okay.
all very similar, right? The Arabic, the Farsi, and the Dari, they're all very similar. They're very
Okay.
similar. They use the exact same alphabet, and so basically, what it is almost like learning different types of English,
Okay.
right? You know, you have European English like they do over in the UK, and then you have the American version. So they're
Hmm.
very similar, a little bit different, but they're very similar. So I learned those 3 languages, did a whole lot of stuff, and people always they say, "Well, you did 6 combat tours." They said, "What do you think about that?" And you know what I have to tell them?
What?
I was like, the experiences that I had as a kid outweigh the experiences I had in combat. I said, nothing in combat compares. You know, even though driving down the street and you see there just been like a bomb and people's feet are like laying on the ground and their arms and body parts laying on the ground, nothing compares to being 9.5 years old and seeing your mom stabbed 33 times, covered in blood, about to die. Nothing compares to being 7 years old and watching your uncle shoot a guy in a crap game. Nothing like being like 5 or 6 years old and watching your dad in a shootout. So all that, 6 tours in combat. The craziest thing I did was lived in the housing projects and grew up with my family.
You know what? This is the part right here where you connect with so many people around America today. If you're watching us on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Facebook, or YouTube, we definitely appreciate you. We
Mm-hmm.
thank you today. I want to raise awareness that we have over 440,000 youth in the foster care system today. We have young people who never entered the foster care system, such as Ernie, who experienced childhood trauma. Which brings me to this next comment. We have a mental health crisis
Mm-hmm.
that continues here in America. What do you think about how we can deal with PTSD and mental health issues in our communities?
Well, as somebody who's been through the stuff that I told you about and who's learned to get over that, I think that it's extremely important that we have to understand who we really are. And we have to understand that the life lessons, the experiences we go through in life are put there intentionally for us to help us become the best versions of ourselves. I think we have to acknowledge the fact that we are spiritual beings.
Okay.
Through each and every one of us, through you, through me, I can see the spirit running through you.
You said
We're
we
all
have to. You said we have to.
we have to understand that we are spiritual beings.
You said we have to.
We have to understand that we are spiritual beings. Yes.
Wow.
We
Okay.
have to understand that we are spiritual beings and that every life experience that we go through, it's in here not to break us down or destroy us, but to help us overcome a new obstacle, to help us become the person that we were brought into this existence to be,
Hmm.
right? Often when we start talking about PTSD, we start talking about depression, it's because, and I'm talking to somebody who suffered from depression, it's because that we haven't synthesized that. We don't understand that while we're going through that. It seems unfair that we have to go through events and circumstances that are heinous. I wouldn't want to see anyone go through some of the experiences that I've been through. But once you understand that we are spirit, and the spirit sent us for a reason to manifest something, to bring some type of good into being in this world, and we have to grow through the obstacles to become the person that we were born to be. So we have to start with that acknowledgement first,
Okay.
right? We have to start with that acknowledgement first, and then the second acknowledgement is we have to understand that there's a creator.
Hmm.
There is a higher creator, and we have to find peace with that. The problem you're asking me about the mental health professionals, and this is a tough question for me because psychoanalysis is one of my fields, psychology is one of my fields, psychological warfare is one of my fields, and I understand the workings of the mind.
Hmm.
The problem is most people don't understand the working of their minds, and so they can't become the master creator of themselves. In order to become the master creator of yourself, that means that you have to first understand yourself. You have to first know who you are. You have to understand how your mind works, and you have to understand how to alter your own reality. You have to understand that there are 360 degrees in a circle, and your creator has given you the ability to step outside of yourself and to view anything that happens in your life from any direction in the circle. And you can take away any message, any lesson that you want to learn. And you can either utilize that to elevate yourself in life, or you can refuse and allow that to dwindle you in size.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a comment in the building from Calvin Pogue. He said, life struggling is also life lessons, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, which I totally agree with.
100.
Now, when you said that we have to realize that we are spiritual beings, it reminded me of Vibranium. You remember the movie Black Panther and Vibranium, and they were dealing with human energy. They were dealing with life energy itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like whatever energy you gave the vibranium gave it back to you tenfold. Mm-hmm. And so when you say we have to realize that we are a spiritual entity, and that we have to realize the bubble of energy around us, like the aura, is something that we really need to respect and regard. It makes me feel like if your life is impressing poverty or impressing danger or impressing physical harm, that what you should give back to life is 10 times that expression. You have to mitigate and transmute that energy into something 10 times bigger and better. And so when we look at it that way, we see how those of us who have been put up against the biggest challenges are well suited. Mm-hmm. Remember, Black Panther had the suit on. We are well suited to achieve phenomenal heights in this life. You take that energy and you don't die and allow it to fester in you. You take it, you transform it, and then you express it. And you express it as positivity, motivation, leadership, ingenuity, creativity. Take that and run with it, Mr. Ernie Davis.
Cedric, you said a lot right there. You said a lot. What I'm gonna say is you're right. I like that vibranium thing. I was hoping you didn't ask me any questions because it's been a couple of years since I watched the Black Panther movie.
No.
But we are energy. Mm-hmm. You see, if I snatch the energy out of your life, your body would drop on the ground lifeless. That's right. You are energy. Once you understand that, you are energy and you are directly connected to the source that created you, that sent you here. Mm-hmm. And you can do everything that you just said, Cedric, but the first thing you have to do is, it goes back to square one, that first question that we're talking about. You have to figure out what it is that you want. You have to unlearn some of the things that you've been told. There's a lot of people in the world who want you to believe that you can only be what they tell you to be. You can only be what society says you can be. You're black, so you can't do this. You're black, so you can't do that. You're a foster kid, so you can't be positive, right? People were telling me that my father was an alcoholic. He was an abusive alcoholic. My grandmother on his side was an alcoholic. My grandfather on his side was an abusive alcoholic. People were telling me growing up as a kid, you're going to be an abusive alcoholic. You know what I said to them?
What?
I don't think so. I disagree.
That's right.
I made a promise to myself from a young kid. I said, I'm never going to be like my father. The negative side. I said, I love my dad. When he wasn't drinking, he was awesome. He was an awesome dad. He would get down on the floor with us, play with the little trucks and cars. We'd have a great time. I said, all the negative stuff, I'm never going to be like that. And so, see, sometimes we have to be willing. And that's why I kind of hesitated when you talked about the psychology, because sometimes they want you to talk to mental health professionals who are trained to do things in a certain type of way. And unfortunately, all they know is all they know. But in reality, you have to be willing to refuse sometimes what people in authority or positions of authority are telling you. Kind of like an NFL football player who breaks a leg or has a serious injury in a football game on a Sunday night. He goes to the doctors, and the doctor said, well, we're highly trained. We went to Harvard Medical School. And according to our stuff that we've looked at, you're never going to be able to walk again. You're never going to be able to play the game again. Right. And then you get some guy who says, nah, I don't think so. I'm going to be like Deion Sanders. I'm going to push myself to a whole new limit. And you know what happens? You've probably heard this story before, Cedric. People who set their mind to that, they start by knowing what they want. I want to play. I want to walk again. I don't care if I don't have any legs or arms. I'm going to drive a car. They figure out what they really want. Then they put in the work to actually manifest that. And before you know it, the guy who had that awesome injury, you watched it on Thursday Night Football. Next season back, he's back and he's leading the stats.
That's right.
Because he had the ability to say, okay, hey, I know you're a professional. I know you're supposed to be an authority figure. But the thing that you don't understand is the spirit and the energy that runs through us.
That's deep. That's deep. We have a power that supersedes what people think based off of what they have read or
Yeah.
the education that they may have received. We have a power that supersedes that.
The bigger problem is most people will not let themselves believe that. It's
Mm.
almost it's almost like you have to break free of the matrix of authority figures telling you what you can and cannot do. Right? You know, in the matrix, the authority figures tell you everything. They tell you all the limitations. They say, okay, you're a black woman. Well, you're a black lady. There's a seal in here. The system says there's a seal in here. You can't break it until we say you can. Right?
Wow.
When they say you can break it, then they allow somebody to break it. They push you up and allow you to break it. But here's the thing: they want to look like as if they're the power brokers, right? In reality, you were born with a life force that gives you the ability to be, do, and create and achieve anything that you put your mind to. As long as you're willing to believe in that, and you're willing to believe and not give up, and allow yourself to believe and push forward.
Absolutely. Now, today, for those people who want more of these types of conversation with you, because you are definitely the catalyst of this conversation today, how can people contact you and get in touch with you and work with you, obtain mentorship?
You know what? For your guests, what I would say, and this is one thing I would put out there. I don't know if you can put it on the screen or something. I would say visit me. I would say visit me at powerhousemotivations.com, and it's www.powerhouse. That's powerhouse with an S. Powerhouse Motivations with an S. Powerhousemotivations.com. And I'd say there's a page in there that says about us, or there's a page that says People's Coach. You can find me there. Right? That's it right there, powerhousemotivations.com. You can find me there. You can visit me on YouTube. You put in at YouTube, Ernie Davis, the People's Coach. You know, we're starting to upload new material in there. But for any men who are listening today, you know, from about your age to about, what are you, 32 this year, 33?
Yes, sir, 32.
So men in that age category, 32 to about 56 years old, we have an awesome program. We call it the Think and Grow Rich coaching program, the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Group, where we get in there and we talk about this mind stuff, right? We talk about this mind stuff, and we also talk about business. We talk about entrepreneurship, and we share ideas, and we bring the thoughts together. There's another saying that you've probably heard, is that one that says, wherever two or more are gathered in my name. Have you ever heard that one?
Yes.
Wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there I am also. And so we let that I am also to join in on us and impart wisdom and knowledge with us to help all the men succeed. So we have that. The aspiring speakers, we do for people who have a message to share, who feel like they have some life stories that they could be standing up on stage, probably on the next Motivator, you know, and sharing their story, but they're not confident in their ability to speak or articulate. We have an awesome one-on-one coaching program.
Okay.
Where we help them to become as effective as they want to be. So we work with aspiring speakers, and we also work with entrepreneurs and people who are freedom seekers, is what I like to call it. Mm-hmm. People who they see the system, they see all the negative stuff going on in the world, and they see there's people out there who are a lot more successful and a lot more happier, and they want that, but they feel like there's something somebody's not telling them. We got it. We have the information. Right? Okay. But everything starts powerhousemotivations.com on the website. Right?
Okay. We are down to the last minute. Mm-hmm. And I just got a few questions for you.
Go ahead.
The first is, what is survival to you?
You know what? Survival is exactly that. It's simply surviving. It's simply going what they call it? Hand to mouth yes. Existence. Simply surviving. There's not much to survive.
That's right.
You can be homeless and live under a bridge and survive. Go ahead, sir.
You mentioned earlier your thoughts on success, but for those people who tune in at the end just to get the gist of it, what is success to you?
So success, this is a big one. Success is this. Listen very carefully. I'm going to lay this out really, really quickly. Success is discovering yourself, but not just discovering yourself and the reason that you were born. Discovering yourself and the reason you're born, but also discovering your purpose. Discovering your purpose. Growing to fulfill your purpose. And sharing your purpose and serving your purpose in the world. That's true success.
Ani King put a go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, because you asked me about happiness. Mm-hmm. You want to find happiness? That's happiness. That's discovering your purpose, growing to fulfill your purpose, and serving your purpose in the world. You were born for a purpose. You want to find happiness? That's where it's really at.
Absolutely. I just want to let you know that you got a lot of love in here today. Calvin Pogue, he said, give it up for the People's Coach. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hearts and your likes in the building for the People's Coach here. Ani King also said, I will replay this show for a long time. Thank you for sharing yourself with us. So you're getting a lot of love in the building. Final question. You got 10 seconds. What's greatness to you?
Greatness is what I just said, and it's actually knowing yourself, knowing your purpose, discovering your purpose, and sharing your purpose with the world. Because when you share your purpose with the world, and it's the whole reason I jumped on here today, when you share your purpose with the world, you're going to inspire and uplift other people, and you're going to help other people to uplift other people. You see, Cedric, me and you, if we do this long enough, we're going to uplift so many people that we have never met, that we have never even seen. This message will share over with them, and some little kid in a liquor house one day is going to be saying, hey, somebody helped me to believe in myself. That's why I'm not living that life no more.
That's right. Ernie Davis, I want to let you know that I've listened to your story today. We've watched how you overcame adversity, how you dealt with challenges in your life head on. You took life by the horns. We're giving you your respect today while you still can receive it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crowns in the chat. We're giving you a crown today while you can still receive it.
Awesome.
We're giving you a crown today. We are letting the world know, letting you know that you, Ernie Davis, is America's next motivator.
Woo! Awesome, Cedric. Thanks.
Absolutely.
It's been
a great time.
Thanks
for stopping by today, all right?
You're welcome. You're welcome. Everybody have an awesome day. Have an awesome day.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you've got to do, just like you did today, is stop by and pick it up.